Hey my good friends, Sam Haymart with Test Driven TV. Today for our driving pleasure is the 2022 Subaru WRX. All new redesign for this year, a lot of improvements, a recipe for fun. So I'm going to show it to you inside and out. We're going to take it for a drive and then I'm going to tell you what I really think. All right, my friends, quick walk around here. The vehicle that we have here is number 3 up from the bottom on the trim grade scale. There's a total of 4. Here we have a 6-speed manual transmission car, which means it's pretty basic when it comes to performance and equipment, and prices out at about $37,000. I love the blue pearl paint on this, very Subaru WRX-esque. Looking at the styling at the front, the first thing you're going to notice is very familiar design treatments. The hood scoop, functional of course, feeds air directly into the Boxer engine's air-to-air intercooler, coming down to the front, a more aggressive front end than you're going to find on any other Impreza. And of course, this is much wider. It has wider fenders at the front, wider quarters at the rear, and it has a wider track, not only to give it better handling, but to give it a more aggressive stance. And it certainly looks it coming down the street. You'll notice it from across the parking lot. LED headlights on this, of course, LED fog lights. Wheels on this are 18 by 8.5 dark metallic finish alloy wheels. Tires, 245/40 series rubber. And you'll notice around the fender openings, this has got some pretty pronounced body cladding, and in the front a little bit of a vent coming out of that wheel well. At the back, this is really one of the best looking Subaru WRXs in my opinion. Now yes, I pined for the big wing that we're going to find on an STI hopefully at some point, but here a nice subtle deck lid spoiler that wraps nicely into the look back there. Those big hips and those taillights really work together well with the sculpting on that deck lid. I like it. And down in the lower fascia, quad exhaust tips, the real thing, not fakes like some manufacturers are giving us. And that lower fascia also has a bit of an air splitter design. It's a nice design package. I think it's one of the best looking yet, and it's slightly larger than before. 1 inch longer in wheelbase and about 3 inches longer in length. The interior of the WRX is really a nice place. Even though we're not all the way up to the top with the top trim grade with the Recaro seats, these sports seats are actually very supportive and very comfortable. They have a micro suede material with a leatherette trim on the outside, lots of red stitching and WRX logos. They're power operated and I love them. They've been comfortable all week long. The rest of this interior has a pretty good level of trim and quality. There's soft trims on the dash. You're going to also find that on the door panels, along with a carbon fiber look plastic trim and a metallic look trim, again, on the dash and on the door panels. Steering wheel ahead of me, leather covered with red accents. Buttons on it for all of the controls in the instrument cluster, and ahead of the steering wheel a very traditional 2-dial analog instrument cluster with a digital center screen big enough for your common information that you would have on your trip computer sets. I really like what they've done here with the center stack, a large human interface, and we'll talk about the audio system here in just a second, but it is a tablet style, a lot easier to see than some of the more horizontal or smaller screens. Down below in the console, a cubby large enough to lay your phone flat down in there, lots of charging port, a traditional auxiliary port, and yes, a manual transmission shifter. It's such a novelty these days, isn't it? Also a novelty when you get the manual transmission is a traditional e-brake lever. Yeah, now if you get the CVT automatic, that goes away and you get an electric parking brake, but they've mounted the cup holders off to the side so they're out of the way. Storage, you have to sort of reach back here, but inside the center console enough storage for a small tissue box. The rear seat for cars in this class I do find to be pretty comfortable. It's very soft, it's very supportive, and this ultra suede material does a nice job of holding you still. These seats ahead of me are set for my height, about 5'9", with my boots on, and I've got plenty of leg room as you can see, and headroom about 2 inches above my head. Amenities back here, a little bit on the sparse side. There are no vents on the back of this console like other cars in this class. An omission in my opinion, but we do have charging ports back here, so at least people can sit back here and plug their devices in if you're on a long trip. There is a center armrest that folds down between these two outside seats, and you can sit somebody in the middle. It seats 3 across. This seat, of course, folds down, 60-40 split, and so you can put long things in through the trunk. And the trunk space is actually pretty sizable. A lot of space back there. Underneath the floor, you're not going to find a spare tire here because, well, this is a high-performance car, and it's pretty common that they put a fix-a-flat kit in instead. I like this interior quite a bit. At $37,000, am I expecting more? Maybe a little bit. It'd be nice to have some vents in the back. These are heated seats. Not really looking for ventilated seats in this class, so I think a good level of equipment, a good level of storage for this being a high-performance car, and the quality in here is every bit as you're going to find in anything in its class. This interior gets 5 out of 5 stars. The human interface and infotainment system is all new for Subaru and all new for the WRX. It is a vertical tablet style display, touchscreen of course, and I like the fact that not only is it a touchscreen, but they've given us a traditional volume knob and a tuning knob. That always makes me so happy. And there are also hard controls on either side for commonly used HVAC functions. It's very easy to use. It's easy to navigate. The graphics are very good. It has all of the Starlink suite of features that Subaru has. It has Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. They're not wireless though. And it does have a very good backup camera to go along with all the other features. Bluetooth, near field communication, and also navigation. Native navigation as part of the system. Very impressed with it. Harman Kardon audio sounds exceptional. This system gets 5 out of 5 stars. Let's go for a drive. First of all, I'm really happy they gave me one with a manual transmission, because if they give me one with the CVT automatic, chances are that's all we would have been talking about. So they're pretty smart when they give out cars to the press. But first, let's talk about handling, because we've really got a rich experience going on here. For 2022, this has got an all-new chassis with a lot of refinements. One of the big things I've noticed already is the better steering feel, which comes by way of a dual pinion electric power steering rack, and that just gives this a much lighter feel, a lot more of a direct feel, and feel in general. I can really feel the road surface coming through the steering in ways that isn't quite as common with electric power steering. Suspension on this, McPherson struts up front, double wishbone at the back, and the all-wheel drive system is set up for a 50-50 mix of power distribution, sending that power where it needs to go. They've made a lot of improvements in the area of refinement here. This is a car that rides better. It has a much more comfortable feel around town, and just living with it every day, from stop and go traffic to being all the way out here on a windy mountain road. A much improved refinement scenario over the previous generation. Now, this is a very stiffly sprung car in this trim grade. It's not adjustable here. If you wanted adjustable suspension, that is available up on the GT model, but you're forced to take the CVT automatic if you go there. Hopefully at some point you'll be able to get that suspension with the manual, but for a suspension that has one setting, I think this is a pretty nice compromise between being almost too rough every day to being stiff enough and sharp enough to really give you what you want when you're out trying to have the handling experience. Now, I will point out one thing though, because this does have a pretty stiff suspension, I've been noticing a lot of little things like rattling on the interior trims, and most notably, the hood. This has an aluminum hood, like a lot of cars today, but this rough suspension and this stiff body structure has given this hood a tendency to bounce up and down and visibly shudder quite a bit when you're going over even mildly rough roads, as well as driving at speed. Out on the highway at speed, this is a car that does have a nice solid feel, very quick steering, and so if you're doing high-speed lane maneuvers, you're going to be very happy to get that response that you want. It is pretty noisy though when it comes to road and wind noise. This tests out at 66.5 decibels at speed, which is one of the higher decibel cars we've tested, if not the highest. and that is mostly attributable to the fact that we've got these wide performance tires. And this is a car that's not really designed to be a comfortable Buick, right? This is a car that's meant to be high performance and give you that experience. Therefore, road and wind noise isn't something they've really gone a long way to keep down on. Overall though, in spite of some of the compromises like road noise and a little bit of roughness here and there, this is a chassis that I think is a good compromise for those who want to be able to take it out on the track occasionally or just go blast a mountain back road. This chassis gets 4 out of 5 stars. But if you watch my videos, you know I really like to talk about horsepower and performance. And the question I always like to ask is, how does it go? So we're out in the middle of nowhere, there's nobody around. Woo! Now one thing, it's got plenty of power, 271 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque. Transmission works really well, but one thing that I've constantly noticed this week is its low red line, 6,000 RPM. Do you know how easy it is to bounce off of that? I actually had to film this a couple of times, just this segment we just did, because I kept hitting the freaking rev limiter and it's embarrassing. And that's the thing, this engine, once this engine hits its power peak in the higher RPMs, it throws you into the rev limiter like a fly on the windshield, man. It's hard to avoid. It really takes some practice driving this car and getting that shift in before it's time. And so it's fun though. This is a car that, because this manual transmission is here, it really delivers a nice boost of power, particularly after 4,000 RPM. That's really where the sweet spot is. And so you really have to keep this thing cooking up there in the RPMs if you're going to go out and blast the back road, or if you're going to be carving through traffic, that kind of thing. And there's that rev limiter again. It's so easy. It just feels unnatural to shift it so soon because it wants to keep going. Anyway, I just had to do that one more time. It's so fun. So fuel economy. I don't know why we're even talking about that, but it's something we talk about here when I test drive a car. 19 city, 26 highway, 22 combined. Didn't quite get there this week when I was driving it. I think I have it somewhere in the neighborhood of 18 to 19 combined during my week. But in fairness to the car, I'm driving it a lot and the air conditioner's on. One nice thing is this car does not have auto start-stop. Thank you, Subaru. I can't speak for the CVT automatic equipped cars. I haven't looked. They very well may have it. I hope not. I hope Subaru was nice enough not to stick their high performance drivers with that. But chances are, if you're the demographic that's okay with a CVT automatic in this car, you're probably okay with an auto start-stop system, and you're probably okay with the eyesight backseat mother-in-law ninny nannies that come with going with that transmission. That's another bonus to going with the manual. You don't have all of that mother-in-law in the backseat parental tell you you're an idiot behind the wheel crap that is the eyesight system. And I know a lot of you are going to bag on me for that, but I just don't like it, especially in a high performance car. And kudos again to Subaru for not messing this car up with that stuff. That makes this car pure. And getting back on drivetrain just for a minute, my tirade had to go off on that stuff. This powertrain is just really well done. I like the fact that the computer kind of gets in there and noodles with the throttle a little bit upon takeoff and clutch engagement. It sort of blips the throttle a little bit for you so that so it makes it a little bit easier when you're taking off in first and second gear, and makes gear shifts a little bit more graceful. It makes it hard to kill this engine. And while that's kind of one of those automatic things that some people don't like, here it's well done in a way that I like it. So this powertrain is very impressive in a lot of ways. It's got just the right amount of power, not too much. It's got a great sound. I'm happy with it. This powertrain gets 5 out of 5 stars. All right, my friends, I gotta tell you, this is a car that is probably the most fun that I can have with my boots on, and maybe more appropriately, my driving shoes. I got dressed this morning and oh, I forgot what car I was test driving. That said, let's talk about value and competition. What are you going to compare this to out in the market right now? Well, honestly, when it comes to all-wheel drive cars like the WRX that are high performance, that you can get a manual transmission in, there just aren't that many out there, right? There's the Honda Civic Type R that's supposed to be coming at us at some point, but that probably won't be all-wheel drive. It hasn't been in the past. You can look at the Honda Civic Si, front-wheel drive, downscale in terms of horsepower. This is a car that really doesn't have a lot of competition, at least in its price range, and that's to me what makes it a good value, $37,000. Now, as I said at the outset, we're number 3 up on the 4 trim grades. Base, you can get around low 30s. You're going to spend over $40,000 if you get the GT. My big gripe with the trim grades is the fact that if you want the manual, this is as high as you can go. If you want the GT with its adjustable suspension, with all of that, you get stuck with the CVT. And it's a CVT. Don't let them fool you with that performance transmission garbage. It's a CVT with a bunch of programming. A CVT it still is. Anyway, I digress. When I look at things like warranty coverage, not the best in the business, but there's a lot of people out there that would tell you, Subaru, oh, don't worry, you don't need it. It's a good quality car. And there's a lot of anecdotal evidence out there to that. I did find during my week with it, when I look at things like build quality, some structural integrity issues like that bouncing hood over rough roads and just driving around town at speed on the highway, rattles on the interior. And in fairness, some of that comes from the fact that we've got a heavy duty stiff suspension that bounces this car around, but worth noting. All in, when I put a value score on this, I put that at 4 out of 5 stars. When you put that in with everything we've already talked about, we're at 4.5 stars for the review. Excellent. Very, very well done, Subaru. Vastly improved over the previous generation. Miles and miles above. And so much so, it goes on my buy it list. Yeah, if I were buying a high-performance all-wheel drive sedan in the compact class, I'd totally buy this. I think this is a great deal, and I'd probably get this trim grade too because I like the combination of equipment. I love the manual transmission and the fact that it doesn't have all of that eyesight stuff, and it's just very simple. No auto start stop. It's like one of the last bastions of simple performance if that's what you're into. So there you go. If you love what we do here, please follow us on social media. You can see all of our links down below. We have a lot of stuff that we post up there that we don't do videos on. If you want the videos, you can see our latest one right there. Best yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel right down there. Either way, stay tuned.